Hi, my name is Doug Beeferman, and I'm a research scientist at MIT's Center for Constructive Communication, or C3. Today, I'm going to show you a prototype tool called Forage, which lets you search and explore Cortico conversations in broader public broadcast archives. Forage can help you search more quickly across large amounts of conversational data. It can also help you identify themes, large and small, within and across different Cortico collections. And finally, it can let you zero in on individual bits of transcript and even play back specific segments that are relevant to your search. This screen is what you arrive at after you log in. On Forage, you can select various data sets. Data sets are sets of conversations that have been indexed by the tool. And for each data set, there's a description of what it contains, how many conversations it contains, and what the earliest and latest conversations are. There's a mix of conversations from Cortico and from podcasts available. You then, after selecting the data set, you provide an objective, which is kind of like a verb. It's what you want to get done. And so that could be, for example, getting themes about something, finding particular positive mentions or negative mentions, finding narratives related to some subject, or maybe just generating a summary of the opinions that are in the data, and so forth. And then you provide a subject, and the subject is the object of interest of your analysis. So what I'm going to do to kind of demonstrate how we might use Forage to search Cortico conversations is I'm going to select a data set, a Cortico data set. And so I'm going to select the Real Talk Boston collection, and I'm going to ask it to generate themes about housing. When I do that, on the left-hand side, I get excerpts of conversations that are pertinent to the subject that I entered. And on the right-hand side, I get an analysis of all of those excerpts that is geared to the objective that I gave it. So in this case, I've asked Forage to generate themes about housing in the Boston Real Talk data set. So the individual matching pieces of content are shown on the left in the order of salience as judged by Forage. And I can click on the link next to each piece of content it will then take me to the point in the Cortico conversation in which those words are spoken. I can then play it. I think if I
wanted to chime in real quick, and I won't talk about it much, but I just wanted to throw like the big elephant in the room, like housing.
In all of our work in Forage, we want to encourage users to visit and use the primary source material as much as possible so that they can connect with the actual voices behind the summary rather than just read the summary. So, our goal is not to just give you a summary of the conversation, but to give you an integrated combination of a summary with the primary source data, so that you explore and understand the primary source data as best as possible. I'll switch now to showing you what the system looks like when we search podcast data. So we've ingested hundreds of thousands of podcast episodes from across YouTube. To demonstrate how you might do interesting comparisons with the podcast data, I'll select two different podcast data sets. One podcast from the Joe Rogan Experience and another podcast from Ezra Klein's channel. I'll then enter a subject which both of them may have reasonably talked about, electric vehicles, and we'll see what we get. So immediately I get, and I think the data here is dominated by Joe Rogan podcast because he records more frequently. But initially, I'll get back a list of all of the matches that are relevant to electric vehicles. And then when the analysis returns, it will re-rank these results based on their overall salience. And the analysis will include themes that include examples from both Rogan and Ezra Klein. here's an example. You can just sort of by sight recognize the titles. Grid capacity and charging infrastructure and charging time is bottlenecks. So here's a theme about electric vehicles, which is discussed in a number of different Joe Rogan episodes, and then also one or actually a couple of different Ezra Klein shows. And so if I click on the link there, it will take me to the point in which that sub-theme is being discussed.
Electric vehicle chargers, but only build a few hundred of them by the end of their term.
It seems that everything is going a little slower than anybody thought.
That's Ezra Klein.
Why is it all so slow? Democrats became champions.
Apparently going to a clip in which they're talking about some of the charging infrastructure related issues. Anyways, I can mine this list of themes for other interesting points of intersection between Ezra Klein and Joe Rogan on this specific topic, electric vehicles. Podcasts represent a reflection of what people are hearing from day to day, and how narratives that are being created around different topics. And major podcasters like Joe Rogan and Ezra Klein will tend to include a wide variety of guests over a long period of time, and are likely to have touched on a large variety of subjects in that time. So Ezra Klein may not have spoken about electric vehicles in the last week, but odds are pretty good that he's spoken about electric vehicles at some point in the past few years. And so by aggregating podcasts over a long time range, we can have some certainty that we'll get coverage of how different topics are covered. In summary, Forage is an advanced search tool that helps you quickly explore conversational data. It allows you to identify themes across conversation archives, large and small, and compare the themes across different conversations or collections. And it lets you zero in on key moments to read or even play back audio from that match your search. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy using and exploring data with Forage.